Hi everyone, it's me again. Sorry about the mess behind me, but we're painting the ceiling at the moment, so everything's covered in sheets, like this one. Oh dear. So, don't know if you saw my little story on Instagram. It was a 10-part piece. I hope you did. I hope you, if you didn't get to see it piece by piece, it was published in full at Facebook. Link is below on my Facebook page. It's 1 or 2 articles down by now, I suppose. Continual reading of Ardamin Clone 7, Chapter 3, Part 2. Tico watched as his neighbours were transformed into zombies. He wasn't so crazy then, but as the time passed, his supplies dwindled and he was forced to scavenge to stay alive, until he made the mistake of going into the heart of Phoenix. Dozens of zombies chased him no matter where he turned. Buildings filled with them, and they seemed to meld out from the darkened corners. There must have been thousands, perhaps millions throughout the city, and no matter where he turned, ducked and dived, there were hundreds more. Bricks, large hulking zombies tougher than a brick wall, were the worst. Their mighty hands swatted at walls, and chunks of wall, brick or concrete would go flying into the air. He managed to miss a few of those hands by just inches. Speeders were almost as bad, but they were long and gangly. As long as you weaved about and didn't run in a straight line, they could be dodged. They were so fast, but Tico was thin and spry, so ducking and weaving came easy to him. He had been chased for miles, but he didn't head for home, for so many were chasing him, and every turn meant that his home would have been overrun in minutes. He had to lose them first. But that proved harder than he imagined. Tired beyond his imaginings, he made it into the Biltmore estate. Tico was smart enough to stay next to the houses and near buildings rather than the openness of the golf course. If he could make it across the canal, perhaps he could lose them. He crossed at North 25th Place and finally took refuge in the Arizona Biltmore Hotel. He collapsed in the lobby, unable to run any further. He thought he was dead as he heard noises from the car park. He had been unable to lose the speeders, and wherever he stopped soon after, hundreds of zombies would start searching for him. It was like they could talk to each other, but he couldn't see how. None of them ever spoke. The Biltmore seemed quiet, inside at any rate. Puffing and panting hard, he looked around. There were bodies scattered all around. Most seemed to have their skulls crushed. Black ooze seemed everywhere, and the ooze was still fresh. The noise outside seemed to be growing when a man came running up to him, bent down and scooped him up, threw him over the shoulder and began to carry him. He never missed a stride. He was fluid. It seemed impossible to young Tico. That man was Ardaman. So he found out later. He carried Tico through the buildings that made up the Biltmore complex, past the pool, out to the smaller car park. Ardeman then threw Tico into the cab of a truck and drove off. They travelled together for a short period, gathering up supplies, vehicles, guns and ammo. After a while, he set Tico up with more supplies than he needed for a year at the Meteor Crater complex. Tasking him with the care of others, that he would send here. Tico took his job entrusted to him very seriously. The 93 survivors looked to him to take care of them. Make that 92 now that they converted Viridian. They had battled a huge horde a few months before the current Ardeman had arrived. A lot of his people were taken by the Zeds and were being held like shields in front of them. Then a voice called out his name. It wasn't one of his people. This voice was different, strange. It asked to speak with him, to stop the death of Tico's people. Tico came out reluctantly and spoke with the controller. A deal was done and they left, returning in small parties with equipment and electronics. They built a special radio tower that could take control of a drone aircraft over a large distance. That had led him here, to this point in time, where he ordered the chaining of a human clone, a clone of the man who had saved him. It ate at his soul, but so did Viridian. So did the near 100 souls under his care. He sighed and turned from Ardaman's gaze. I had no choice. He dropped his head, turned, and walked away. That's it. End of part 2 for today. Well, end of part 2. More next time. Take care. Bye.